Hey everybody, you are watching me on video today because I've got another family situation. So last Friday I had to run out of here in the morning because I was at the ER with my wife. She was having like weird symptoms, headache, and other problems, and so they had to do an MRI and they were checking her out. And it turns out she had a sinus infection that kind of turned into migraines. She's never had migraines before, so they had her on IVs and finally got her back on track. So I thought we were in the clear. My daughter's back from college just yesterday, and she has been having back problems. So I am bringing her in this morning to get a cortisone injection in her back. So it's been a little crazy at the Milinovich house. So I apologize that I'm not here in person, but I think today's work is actually pretty doable. Shouldn't be too much trouble for you. And you should have some extra time. So if you look, there's a whole bunch of things listed here for today, but it says we're going to have you dive into Shays Rebellion and try to get some of the background on what happened there. So I'll kind of walk you through these steps so you can see what's there. I'll go through the slides with you, and then it'll be on you to do the next couple of steps. Ultimately, the goal today is to take the quiz and to show me that you understand what Shays Rebellion was about. The other note that's on here is we started last Friday with some work time on the textbook. And so we finally have the due date for the reading quiz. So Monday, 11:30 is the date to have that reading quiz finished. So if you finish early today, you can definitely use your time to spend some more time with the chapters for this unit. Same kind of deal with the quizzes, right? We're shooting for at least 12 out of 15. You can retake it if you need to. Pretty straightforward. So that's not what we want. So if we go into today's work, you see the quiz down here. We're going to start up on the assignment. And I'm going to walk through these slides with you. So our focus is, I can explain the strengths and weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation. So this unit, we're going to get into you'll be reading about the Constitutional Convention and how the framers of the Constitution, our founding fathers put together this government that we still use today. But their first attempt was a government system that we called the Articles of Confederation. So we're going to look at the pros and cons here. So basically, think of the Articles of Confederation kind of like the European Union. So just like Germany and France and Spain and all the countries of Europe that are in the Union are kind of individual countries that have banded together to kind of have a common purpose. That's kind of what was going on in America. So all of the colonies that we studied in the last unit were like independent countries. And so the only way they could get anything done is if they all agreed. So a confederation is kind of a loose grouping of separate units. So if you look at the left side of the chart, it says the writers of the Articles of Confederation were concerned about the things on the left side. So think of all the stuff from the Revolutionary War: taxation without representation, a strong central government that had too much power, following British legislation, so not having a say in the laws that affected them, too much power again in one person's hands, in the hands of the king, and the fact that the king could kind of willy-nilly just decide, here's a law, right, deal with it, Stamp Act, done. Those are the things they're worried about. So what kind of a government did they put together? A government that avoids those things. So under the Articles of Confederation, we're now over here on the right side, the federal government doesn't have the power to tax. They could ask states to pay taxes, but they don't have the power to make them pay. And you could guess that after the Revolutionary War, there's a lot of debt because wars are expensive. And so not having the ability to tax states basically was a pretty significant problem. Ask your parents if their taxes in April were voluntary, how much would they give the government? That'll be an interesting answer. Probably very little. States don't have to follow federal laws and treaties. under the Articles. So states have a whole lot more authority. You can see how that might be problematic if states just decide, yeah, we're not going to follow that law. We're not going to follow that treaty with another country. We're going to just do our own thing. States then had their own laws and didn't have to follow other states' laws. And if you read in this time period, you have disputes that spring up between border states. So like particularly New England. If you drive through New England, you can go through multiple states in a 3-hour drive: Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Delaware, and all those little states. So there's lots of people that are doing business between states, and because they have different laws, there actually are squabbles and fights, and it's messy, to say the least. There is no executive branch under the Articles of Confederation. There's no thing like what we would think of as the presidency, and there's no national court system, so no Supreme Court. So how do we then fix or solve any of the disputes that are springing up with all of these different laws? And they're not. And then last, it says any amendment, any change to the Articles, all 13 states had to approve. And so you can imagine getting all 13 of those states to be on board on anything was pretty complicated. And in fact, I think they only actually got a couple of things done. One was the Northwest Territory dealing with expansion west and how are they going to bring in new states. That was one agreement that they got to, but it was pretty limited in what they accomplished. So this is basically restating a lot of what we just said. So if the federal government can't tax, they have a hard time raising money. If states don't have to follow laws and treaties, the federal government has no assurance that individual states would follow them. Each state had its own laws, which made it difficult for the country to act in any kind of united way. Congress couldn't pay back debts from the Revolution and couldn't get states to work together to encourage commerce or business. So adding all these things together, you're pretty sure that this is going to be a pretty dysfunctional government, right? Without an executive branch, the government could not defend its borders. Since there was no executive branch and national court system, the government could not enforce its laws, and any amendment required all 13 states' approval. So the Articles of Confederation was difficult to modify or change. So this is kind of setting up what's happening next, where we get into the Constitutional Convention. So they meet together ostensibly to try to make some changes to the government system, and pretty much they say what we have is such a mess, we're going to just throw it out and start from scratch. So that's what started the writing of the Constitution. But you can see now why they kind of came to that conclusion. This is a government system that's not going to be very effective. So there are two things here that you are supposed to do. I've kind of given you some of the background. If you look at the below these slides in the assignment, there is a textbook passage. And I'm going to have you kind of read that and think about some of these questions. And then this video, so you have to get to slide 6. You can watch this video. It's literally 2 minutes long. Okay. So the directions say, watch the video on slide 6 and take notes. Read the textbook excerpt, and that's down here. You're going to take notes. Between what I gave you and what you're getting in those two places, then you should be ready to take the quiz that's posted today. Again, you can use the notes that you're taking as you're reading and watching. We're shooting for 8 out of 10. So if you score less than 8 out of 10, I would say review the material, check your notes, and then retake the quiz. That is the work for today. So again, once you finish that quiz, you should have some time left. And then the idea would be to continue working on the textbook assignment. If you need to find that, it was posted last Friday. So I click on the little calendar, and here it is, Friday the 13th. So you open that up and you'll have the textbook assignment. As usual, if you have questions for me, you can send me an email and I'll do what I can to answer those for you. I'm going to be at the doctor in the morning. I'm not sure how long we'll be there, but I'm going to be probably dealing with her at least while we have class. But I should be available in the afternoon to answer questions. So happy Friday. I will see you all again on Tuesday, and let's knock on wood. I think I'll actually be there, and we'll have a more normal class. That's all. Have a good weekend.